Welcome to The Pursuit, a podcast produced by the Junior Board of the Chicago Midwest chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, otherwise known as NATAS. We are a group of emerging media professionals seeking insight from leaders in our fields. I'm Tiyen Simmons, an undergrad student at Governor State University, and I'm also your host for this episode. Today, we will be talking to radio broadcaster, on-air personality, and host Melyssa Forman, who worked with a number of radio stations such as 93.9 WLIT Chicago, Mix 94.5, Mix 94.1, WKIE 92.7/5 KISS FM, and television station WCIU TV, The U, to co-host Unb This Morning. As a leader in Chicago's vast media industry, Melyssa talks to us about her unique journey. Ladies and gentlemen, Melyssa Forman. In light of the podcast itself, we like to start by asking our guests, what made you pursue this career? Where did it all start?
You know, I didn't know what I wanted to major in exactly. I thought maybe I would want to be a theater major. I know you're really involved in the arts and artistic things, and there was that side of me. And I think it was my dad, who's always my biggest cheerleader. But for some reason, he kind of said, well, maybe, instead of going to college for acting, you should go for something maybe, that you would be able to get a job because you can kind of always do acting. So I decided, well, let me major in journalism. And I thought I'd want to be a TV reporter, on the anchor desk. But I always knew that there was a goofy side of me that if something went down or something went wrong, that I would be that person that would be underneath the news desk just laughing hysterically and not be able to control myself.
Would you say that was the moment like you knew that you wanted to pursue this particular career?
So what happened was I did go for journalism, and while I was there, it's kind of like magic happened because every morning I woke up and I heard this morning radio show. And, we all have those people on the radio that we've connected with through our childhood or through our lives. But this was one moment where I was like, their names were John and Maura. And Maura in particular was this woman who was just not only so funny and talented, but she wasn't like a sidekick. She was a full-blown partner. She wasn't just doing news or traffic, but she held her own. And every morning at 10 a.m. when I'm going to class and I'm waking up, they're like, bye-bye, see you tomorrow. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you're done with work? It's like 10 a.m. This is Cush's job. Like, I need this job. I have to do this. And so I was just entirely inspired. I wound up getting an internship. I called that radio station. I was petrified, and I got an internship with John and Maura. And it was one of those things you hear about in the movies where I just got a lucky break that Maura decided to get married a week before I was graduating from college. And like I said, there was a goofy side of me. I just never really realized what the job was. Like, I'd listened to radio and it was cool and everything, but until I heard her speak and I heard this show and I heard the creativity, I like to do voices. So one thing that happened is when I got that internship and I was, working there kind of with John and Maura, The Simpsons came out. I don't know if you know The Simpsons TV show with Bart and Homer and everything. And they needed somebody to do the voice of Bart Simpson. And they were describing him. They needed him for a commercial, and nobody really knew because it was brand new. And while they were describing it, I was thinking, it sounds a lot like my Aunt Wendy, who kind of talks like this, and oh my God. And they were like, it's like this. And so we were kind of fooling around with it. The next thing I know, I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had a Homer burger. It would make, and that, like, the whole thing just came out of me. And the whole room just looked over at this intern, and they were like, what, So when I saw the response, I realized, well, maybe there's something here. Like, maybe I could do this for a living. So, I do tell people, it's like things always happen for a reason. People come into your life for a reason. You meet people for a reason. And I think, going to the University of Illinois for me was really the start of so many moments in time where things just worked out the right way. Everything happens for a reason. And it was such a great start to a career,
Can you talk a little bit more about, I guess, that internship or your very first job in the media industry, just how, day-to-day activities and things of that nature?
So, internships are really important. They're harder to get. I always say, for your generation, it's unfortunately, there's not as many as there used to be. There are a lot of rules and laws like, where we can't have interns anymore. And I feel awful because, those moments of being in a live newsroom or those moments like for me where I was in, a live running radio show or those moments where, you can shine and you wind up getting a job. But, again, the internship at that radio station was really important. I worked at WBBM TV in Chicago. I was an intern on the news desk. Oh, I used to sweat. That was pressure. Like, internships are really important because they can also help you rule out maybe what you're not as good at or what you really don't want to do. I don't think for me, hard news was ever I do love it. I love in-depth stories and I can do them, but I don't think that's something for me that I realized I wanted to do day in and day out. So internships are the key, you guys. Getting in on things like doing this board, doing the NATAS board, the junior board, Tiyen and so many students like you who took a chance and thought, let me just, do this. You don't know who you're going to meet during this that wind up saying, I've already told you I'm madly in love with you because you're just an awesome guy and I see your talent and your potential. But those moments where you can connect with people who are already in the business are really, really vital. And being a good person while you're there at your internship, giving it your all, stepping up, making sure that you are accountable or you're known. Again, there aren't that as many internships, but the ones that are there, when you're there, make sure you're doing well.
I was a little nervous at first, and I know you recognized it. Like you noticed, like, yo, you're nervous, but you kind of welcomed me with open arms, and I was really appreciated and gave me more confidence and who I am and what I'm good at.
Oh, you're so welcome. What's weird is you can connect with people, but you don't know why. I mean, you didn't know me. I just had this thing where when I saw your tape, I was like, I really like this guy. I was like, I don't know, and things stayed with me. I was like, okay, he has like 11. There's like 11 of them, and he's into art and he plays guitar. And there was something very genuine about you that made me like you. It's just a weird thing. You had no idea who I was. It was just, I don't know. I don't know if that's intuition or, I'm good at picking young talent is what it is, I think. It's got to be. But I'm really excited for you because I can't wait to see, what you do and where you go from here. And, that's the fun part too, is having a hand in the upcoming generation and what you guys are going to do next,
So tell us the story that it kind of like exemplifies what it means to be on radio and television.
Man, I have so many stories. We used to do all these crazy stunts to raise money for charity. So I sat in all 70,000 seats at Memorial Stadium at the University of Illinois in the middle of winter, wearing these hip waders. And we sat up and down in every single seat. We got paid per seat that went to a party for kids, underprivileged kids who would otherwise not have had Christmas. It was really awesome. I've teeter-tottered nonstop for like 4 days to build a park. I've been locked in cages with dogs and cats to raise money for charity. I hung from a crane in a little tiny box for I think it was 2 or 3 days. And that was also to raise money. Like we were dressed as Santa. We had to wear a Depends undergarments because we couldn't come down. There was nowhere to, it was chaos. I sat on top of Memorial Hall, a Memorial Stadium where we hung Christmas lights all the way around it. I don't know if you've seen it. It looks like a giant spaceship. It's pretty sweet. And we hung Christmas lights all the way around that had never been done. And anytime somebody donated, we turned on one light at a time until the whole thing was lit up. It was crazy. So I have done some really wild things through the course of, my radio career. I've met some amazing people, a lot of people at the beginning of their careers, or the middle or the end. I've been able to do television. I had a 9-year show with Gene Sparrow, my bestie in the whole world, who we got to experience that together. So just a lot of fun things.
So you've done a lot of charity work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The charity work, I feel it's a personal obligation to make sure every day I'm giving back in whatever way that is. It may be in laughter for someone. During COVID, I took it very personal that I would wake up every morning and I would make a difference in someone's life because people needed it. And they needed a friend and they needed a laugh and they needed to escape and they needed a moment to feel like life was normal. And I took that very seriously to make sure that they felt that way. And in turn, they gave that to me as well. So, even though I was nervous, when I got to talk to them, we got to laugh or talk about things that were kind of menial, it made a difference. But the charity aspect, like we do a lot of stuff with Lurie Children's Hospital. We're doing their telethon or radiothon. We do it every Christmas. And we were able to raise, with iHeartMedia, I think it was like over $500,000 in one day. And, when you're in a position like this and you're able to give back, you should, whether it's doing interviews with students or going to someone's birthday party or, I think people sense that you're genuine. You have these moments where they look to you, can you do this? And you can't do everything, but if you step up and you do it, it not only benefits them, but it benefits you as well,
I think that's really important. I think just today, in today's age, it's not too many people that are genuine and wants to help out and do things for the right reasons. And I think that's really important. How do you achieve like a work-life balance? Because, you say you had kids and I know it's a lot.
That's a great question. And I'm sure, Tiyen, you've seen that with, your family and 11 kids, that it's like, you better balance it or someone's crying or upset, I think your family and your personal life should always be number one. And I mean that in the way, there should be balance, but you can never get those moments back. You can't get moments back with your kids. And I try to really work around that in any way possible. So if it means, doing work in another day or whatever, I want to show up. My kids are now teenagers, which is great, but I want to be at their moments or their games or their events and their awards and things like that. And I think if you surround yourself too with people who are like-minded, either your boss, I know it's hard to pick your boss, right? We can't all, whatever. But the other thing is, maybe don't accept working in that environment if it's just not healthy for you. You come first. That's it. You have to take care of yourself because then you can take care of others, So I work around it. And if you find something you love, then the work-life balance is okay. Like I have fun at my job. I love it. I love who I work with. I love the listeners. So if I work extra every day, it's okay by me because I'm making a difference or they're making a difference to me. When that scale tips and you're not having fun anymore or you're not working with people who are quality, then you find a way to get out. That's, non-negotiable, I think.
What are some other hobbies that you have?
Netflixing. I forgot. You know what I do, Tiyen? I forgot. I bake these crazy cakes. So here's a good story for you. In this business, there's one thing you do need to prepare for, and it happens. And I remember when I was young, like you, and someone's like, listen, you're going to one day get fired. And I'm like, fired? No. I was like, not me. I'm the exemplary employee. That will never happen. Well, in this business, it does. It is not. You have to learn, number one, to have thick skin. And you have to learn to realize that it's not always about you. It might be a business decision. It might be someone doesn't know you and they made a decision. It's not personal. And you have to really always walk away with your head high and your dignity. Say, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to work with you. And then walk away gracefully. But we were fired. I've actually been fired. I work for a company where they fired me twice. So now I'm working the third time. I don't know how many people have that happen to them. And I love it. And I'm having so much fun, but I never held it against them. I knew there were a million different reasons why. And, I never took it personal. So we were let go. Me and Gene Sparrow did a show together on WCIU called Unb This Morning. We were let go from that job. And I was like, listen, I got to go home. I got to talk to these little kids. At the time, my kids were younger. And I want to make sure that I hold my head up and I set an example for when something happens in their life, when someone lets them go or breaks up with them or maybe fires them, it's going to happen. So instead I went home and I said, listen, girls, we're going to have a full year off and we're going to make cakes. because I used to make like cupcakes with them and cakes. And so what happened was I decided to bake it forward, and like I just started going crazy where I would bake these cakes and give them to people. No one could pay for them, but I gave them to like the school crossing guard who had this big giant smile every morning. And we gave it to my neighbor who was like 90 years old and didn't have anyone, in his family. I gave it to a news anchor who I love and adore who's been through cancer several times. We gave it to, and so I made these, I'll send you some photos, but they're pretty wild, these cakes. Like, so they're in the shape of like a shoe, or, they're in the shape of like a golf bag, like really physically they look like whatever the thing is. So that is a big hobby of mine. And everybody knows that, I get called the cake lady a lot, which I'm not so certain I like, but maybe the radio cake lady, but I love that. I love anything athletic and running out with the family and riding bikes and music and, a lot of different things.
In the industry alone, I feel like you have to have hobbies and you have to have other things to do. You can't like really be a workaholic and that's like the only thing you do. You have to have like multiple facets. And that's great to hear that, the cakes. Oh my gosh. You have to send me pictures.
Oh, I'm going to send you so many. Oh, I cannot wait to show you pictures, especially because you're artistic. But, like that side of you is, excuse me, is your escape, right? It's like you're going to have your work life and everything else, but to have something that you love to do, whether it's a piece of artwork where you turn that music up and you just get away or escape, is really vital to find something that you love. So let's say you have your work life, you've got your home life, and then the third aspect should really be the you life, the something that makes you happy. It's whatever that is, playing football or music or art or cakes. Finding that is really important. It will save you. It will save you in life,
So, well, tell us about co-hosting the You and Me This Morning. How was that?
That was so fun. So poor Sparrow, Gene Sparrow. So, we had known each other through radio just from afar. And then she was hosting this small show on the U. It was called You and Me. And one morning, I had been let go from my job. And one morning I woke up, I had never seen the show. I'm like, there's Sparrow, there's Gene, but this is so cute. I love this. And then I remember thinking, it'd be so great if we did this together. Like, I didn't know her that well, but like I felt about you, I just felt like we would have this great connection. I didn't know why. It was so weird. I kid you not. The next day I get an email, can you please come in? Jean might be taking a little time off. She's fine and everything. She had a little medical thing, but they wanted me to try out to help host while she was out. And I was like, how weird. I just literally watched it. I had no idea this thing was even on. So I come in and they call me that night. They're like, okay, they were going to have different hosts, but they decided just to have me host for the full month. So I did. And then before the month was up, they were like, it'd be really interesting to see you and Jean together. And I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be really interesting. I wonder how that would be. So Jean came back, poor girl, but we went to have lunch, and it was true. We hit it off immediately. Like, we just had the best time. We're eating each other's food. I mean, we just really, really liked each other. Now, whether she wanted me to invade her space and her show, and like I even invaded her dressing room, like moved her stuff out and they moved me in. This poor woman was like, I was like, the little, we're the same age, but I joke. It was like the little sister who just moved in on her space. But we really grew to have so much fun together and so much respect for each other. And I've never laughed so hard. When you find a person or a partner on the air, either television or radio, that brings out the best in you and where you lose your inhibitions. Gene Sparrow has a way where I would drop. She had have a way to make me say things I wouldn't otherwise, but in a good way. Like she brought the best out in me. I think we brought the best out in each other. And so that was a good 9-year run. That doesn't happen very often. And then I wound up getting hired back to iHeart, where I was in radio once Gene and I were like, oh, and so did she. So she's over at WVAZ at 102.7, and I'm at 93.9 Light FM. We both work for iHeart. So now we're back together again, working for the same company. So I tell her I'm just following her. Every dressing room she goes into, I'm following her. But, it's just cool. it's great to meet good friends in this business. I will tell you, Chicago has this way of really connecting everybody in the business. We're all, I think we're all good friends. Like Chicago's a very unique thing. I wouldn't call it competitive because we all change chairs so often that you can't be, because you don't know who you're going to be working with next. So everybody is pretty supportive, I think, of each other.
That's like the first time I've heard that. That's so interesting because, you know, a lot of times you hear about the media industry, you just think like, oh, it's so competitive to get in. And so, I mean, it probably is competitive to get in, but like you said, it doesn't feel like a competition.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think probably, you know, it's more competitive to get in. But once you're in, you realize, wow, it's small. I mean, Chicago's a big city. We all know that, but it's still small. It is still a small town. And the media is still small collective group, and you meet each other through various things. So you have to learn to support one another because, again, you don't know who you're going to be working with next. So that's very vital when you're young and you get into this business. You know, make sure you keep your connections. Make sure you make good friends. You're really good at it. You're asking questions. And you would do this otherwise because I had time to talk with you otherwise and you asked us questions. But getting to know other people is really, really important too. Even though we're in the business of asking questions or talking, it's good to get to know other people.
Hey there, you're listening to The Pursuit, the podcast series produced by the Junior Board of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, Chicago Midwest Chapter. My name's John Owens. I'm the president of NATAS Chicago Midwest. We'll get back to this great interview in just a moment. But first, I just wanted to make sure everyone keeps an eye on the NATAS Chicago Midwest website. And we'll have information about the upcoming 63rd Annual Chicago Midwest Emmy Awards. This will take place later in the fall. And we'll also have more information on some of our workshops and special events that we have planned for this season. Our website is at chicagoemmyonline.org. So be on the lookout for some of the great events we have planned for this season. Now, back to The Pursuit.
How important is collaborating with people?
So important. I mean, it's so important because, well, I'll tell you this. I always talk about, here's a great story. I love my guy, Hairy Leg. So, okay. Wait, what? Meeting. Oh yeah, I'm going to explain this. Okay. So meeting people and bumping into them in a moment in time, right? So this time together is going to bond us, you and I. And it's like, you know that you could call me and I might know someone who helps you and you might know someone who helps me. And, when you start to add all of those up, you have a great connection, a great network of people who really can do awesome things. And you never know how a person comes into your life and changes it forever. So when I moved from Champaign, I worked there for 5 years after school. Then I moved to Cincinnati. I was there for 2 years. And one night I was in a studio I wasn't supposed to be in. It was just, I was in there late doing work. And this other guy was in there who usually isn't in there either. And we started talking. His name's Harry. Really good guy. Felt like, just really, we had a great time talking to each other. And I said, listen, Harry, I'd love to stay in touch. What's your last name? And he says, Leg. And I'm like, your name's Harry Leg? I'm like, your name. He's like, no, my name is Harry Leg. I know. And his sister, I kid you not, is Margaret, and they call her Peg. Peg Leg and Harry Leg. And I said, Harry, you have the meanest parents ever, but I loved meeting you. And you know what? Like I'm going to remember you forever. It was so good to meet you. I'll never forget you. You're Harry Leg. And it was cute because at the end of the conversation, she said, well, I'll never forget you either, Melyssa. And like a year went by, and then I wanted to really get back to Chicago. I had a boyfriend at the time. He was back home, and I really, really was eager. I get this call out of nowhere, right? And this is why making these connections are so important. I get a call, and someone's like, listen, Melyssa, they need one more person. They're starting this brand new radio station. It was called Kiss FM. Not 103.5, not the one but it was 92.7 and 5. It was the first Kiss FM in Chicago. They need one more person. They want her to be they need a woman. They want her to do mornings. And I'm like, and then they want her to connect with like suburban moms and kids because it was a suburban signal. And I'm like, I was from that, and I'm thinking like, this is all me. This is my chance. And I'll never forget the guy at the end of the call says, you need to call the program director, assistant program director. His name is Harry Legg. And I'm like, what? And I joke, I go, how many hairy legs besides my two own are there in this world? There cannot be another hairy leg. So sure enough, I said, Harry Legg. And I like to call him by first and last name because Harry Legg. So I said, Harry Legg, it's Melyssa Forman. You're starting this radio station. He said, oh my gosh, Melyssa, you got to get me your tape as soon as possible. Like, get it to me yesterday, as quickly as you can. And I did. And sure enough, Harry Legg brought me back to Chicago, to KISS FM, to my family, to where I wanted to be. But I joke because it was one moment in time, right? One person had, and had I not taken the time to engage, or he hadn't taken that time to engage or network, or, who knows what would have happened. The guy's really successful. I adore him. And I love that story. It's like one of my favorite stories. Yeah.
I love it. I love it too.
Harry Legg.
That's such a great story. Yeah, and that just shows, like you said, just that one moment in time, it took you, where you wanted to go, which is back to Chicago with your family, working, So that's a really great story. So you mentioned earlier that your dad was a big mentor to you, a mentor figure, if you will. Do you have any? Well, talk to me a little bit about him and how he kind of pushed you, or any other mentors that you have that kind of push you in the right direction.
Yeah, I think my mom and dad were both very instrumental in, they always got so excited. They were the first ones to turn on the radio and listen. And I remember when I came back to Chicago, I had an appearance at the mall, and I was going up the escalator, and the booth is set up, the table with the jocks and the photos and everything. And I get up there and there's a little line to meet me, which was so cute. But at the front of the line is like my mom and dad. And I just thought that, that was just so cool. They've always, they cry when I tell them the littlest things that, they cry when, littlest awards, the biggest awards, it doesn't matter. They're always, just really excited and happy for me. And, they love it. People have big dreams. Like, listen, I want to go to New York. I want to go to LA. For me, it was always just about being in my hometown. I love Chicago. It feels comfortable. This is my home. This is where I live. And being the best I could be in my hometown was like, that was making it to me. I had no other aspirations. I love it now. It's really cool because now the world has gotten smaller through our, we have the iHeartRadio app. People call me from New York. People call me from Denver, from wherever they are. And it's like, hey, Johnny, what's going on? Like, it's really fun. It feels just like Chicago. And it's made the country a little smaller for me. I feel like it doesn't matter. People are the same everywhere. But aspiration wise, being back home and being able to do radio for my family, my mom and dad, I call my people, because it's like all I've known. So, and teachers, there have been teachers along the way that have rooted for me or helped me out. And, so many program directors I've had that have just been so great. I have one now, this guy, Mikey, and I really, really like him and adore him. And he's a cheerleader. And that's cool to have a boss that cares about you and wants you to win,
And that's really important, because some bosses aren't as, they just don't really care.
I mean, listen, Tiyen, you're going to meet people along the way, and you have to decide, is it me or is it you? And, sometimes it is you, there you have to take things away. And then other times you have to say, well, this is about them and I'm going to be respectful. But I'm also not going to take everything personal, and you have to realize in this business, when is it worth fighting for and when isn't it? I pick my battles on the small things, and then big things, I've learned to get stronger about. And, but like I said, when you cross over the line and there's some people that don't support you, then it's like, well, do I move on? And you have to decide.
Do you think that ambition comes as you age, or have you always had it? And if so, how do you foster that?
Well, I think, listen, don't you think you're born with ambition? Like, I think you either have it or you don't. Like, you clearly have ambition. You knew that you wanted to sign up for this thing. You know, you have, goals and things you want to do. There's this inner strength or voice that you either have or you don't, right? Do your ambitions change? Do your goals change? Yes, for sure. I was thinking about that the other day, like, certain awards or something you might be given as you're older. And I'm like, do you care at 75 or 80 that you got that? I'm sure they're all like, oh, yay, thank you for this Lifetime Achievement Award. But like, a part of you is probably like, I wish I won this at 30, because at 75 or 80, you're just like, can I get home and get my pajamas? Things, your ambitions change as you age. And that's also a really good thing because you have perspective. And I wish I had that perspective at your age that I have now. There's no real way to change that. But ambition is definitely something you either have or you don't. Just like I had a boss, I love this guy, Dale Weber, speaking of mentors in Champaign when I worked there. He was the best. He's such a good boss. But he said, Melyssa, there's only two kinds of people in the world. You either get it or you don't. And I remember thinking, wow, that's like, it's kind of true, right? It's like you, whatever it is in business or in life, or that you either get it or you don't. And it's hard to change that. I think it's innate. It does come on slowly too. You're going to see, Tiyen, that there's like things where you're like, I kind of like to do that. Like, I want that, or I want that life. And you don't really get it until you have a chance to see other people doing it. Or whatever that is, you may walk down the street and see a father who's just like an awesome guy, or you have a father that you really, and you're like, I want to be that guy, For me, it was like that light went off when I listened to Maura on the radio where I went, I want that. That's a cool job. That's what I want to do. And we're lucky when that happens to us. For some, it takes longer. You should always go for it, though. I have so many friends who wish they were in radio or television or media or sports journalism. I know that's a thing for you. And someone dissuaded them, and then they were unhappy forever because, when you're young, like, do it. You have a chance to do it now. Like, you go for it. There's going to be a million people telling you can't do it. It's too volatile. It's too crowded, blah, blah. And I used to say to myself, well, somebody has to do it. So why not me? Plus, there's so many different ways to do it now. I mean, you have so many different avenues. It's YouTube, it's this. I mean, there's so many different mediums now. Before it was radio or television or print. Now, right? So yeah, I think it does come with age. If you don't entirely feel it yet, it will come as things come into your field of view that are things you decide you want.
You mentioned a little bit about like now that there's different mediums now. Like you said, at first there was just radio, television, print. Like you said, now there's like YouTube, there's virtual reality, there's a ton of different things. Like now, talk to me a little bit about, I guess, the role that newer technology or technology being innovated upon. How has that kind of changed? Because like you said, now you're working from home and you're working the switcher, you're working audio, you're doing it all. Like, how has that been?
Yeah, well, that's another really good question. I will tell you too. So when I started in radio, it wasn't like I had to do 3 posts a day on social media. So you might be in radio and TV, but then you're also responsible for doing your social posts and interacting with people. In some places, you're going to be judged on how many, hits you get, how much interaction you're getting. So it's really like, you're not just doing one thing. You're responsible for a lot of different things. I think you have to really use the creativity you have to make your mark and have it transfer over to other things. So let's say my cakes. Cakes are universally an awesome thing. It doesn't matter if you're a guy, it doesn't matter if you're young, you're old, whatever. People love cakes, right? So I could put together a little montage of me making it, and stick it up on TikTok, and a 6-year-old gets as excited as a 90-year-old. I got lucky, there was something I was good at. But find what your niche is, if it's telling sports in 15 seconds, and you could put that together. So you have to use the creativity that makes you good in either radio, television, print, or whatever in this new medium so you connect with people. And you got to be creative. You got to think out of the box. When I was fired, I was home every morning. I had never been home because I did a morning show. So I would leave at 4 a.m. I got to feed my kids, and my youngest was like, I don't know if she was 9 or younger. I don't know. But I would wake her up every morning, and I would video me taking her breakfast. And I would see how long various dishes would take to wake her up. So like I'd come in with hot cinnamon buns and just put this plate underneath her nose with a clock, waiting for her to wake up. Like, and you just see this little girl, like, in her sleep smelling cinnamon buns, or, whatever it was, like pancakes. And then one day I put just a plate of pickles on there. And you gotta be creative, and you gotta kind of think out of the box. The other really important thing, and you mentioned, and that is the fact that, like I'm a home alone. And when I started out in this business, I will give you the piece of advice: learn as much as you can. So I never relied on some editor, or my producer is amazing. I love this guy, Jim. He's like he's again now he's my radio husband, but he runs the equipment when we're together, and he does part of it, but I run it all. Like, so the minute we went home, I had no issues. I'm fine at home because I'm editing. I'm putting stuff on the air. I could go live. I could go tape. I could do news. I could do overnights. I could do weekend jockeying. So you have to make yourself, flexible. You got to be willing to grow. You got to be learning new things all the time. And don't stagnate. But really, I will say, like, again, in radio and can you pick up the camera? Can you shoot? Can you edit? Can you, right? It just makes you more valuable.
I think that's really important you said that, just because one of my older professors said that one of the most important thing that you should do is always learn, unlearn, and relearn. So basically, you're going to be learning until, you die, I guess.
That is great. I'm so glad she told you that. I think it's really important. And, I'm okay to be wrong too. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to take advice. It's okay to think about it. It's okay to say you're sorry in this business, to be accountable. I mess up. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I how could I learn? That sometimes comes with age, because when we're young, we want to, we're trying to make our way, and we're like, but we're right. It's okay. It's okay to be wrong too.
I feel like those are big character attributes. Those are the type of things that help you build character. If you're like, yo, I am wrong. I am wrong. I messed this up. I messed that up, but I can do better next time, or, and I feel like that says a lot about character, for sure.
It's one of the most important things is to be humble like that. Like it ends an argument immediately when you're like, it's my fault. I'm so sorry, I'm wrong. I'm so sorry. And really mean it. Even sometimes if you're not entirely wrong, it's just a good way to drop everybody's defenses so that you can really have a good conversation, and you come out of it the better person. That's the irony. You can fight. What are you fighting for? But if you stop and analyze and say, okay, it's just a better way to communicate.
How would you define success? Because I know sometimes it's pretty subjective. To some people, it's just, for me, success for me would just be getting into the industry, doing what I love, helping people, giving back, still being around my family, not too far away. But success for everybody else is different, So how would you define success?
Well, I think you summed it up perfectly. I mean, that's what success is to me: having a great family, having people I laugh with, loving my job while being successful at it, feeling like I'm contributing to something. Again, every morning people wake up and they count on me to help them start their day. It's the most important job. I'm up at, the crack of dawn, making sure they know what's happening, making sure they have a little laugh, making sure they have something to think about today, making sure they have a friend to call. And it's a really important job. I take that very, very seriously. Success to me, again, is staying in my hometown and being able to do that and have these listeners who I really call friends. I would literally say 95% of my phone, which is bizarre now, is listeners. They have my phone. They know where I live. They call me. They text me all day. And there are people from all over different parts of the city. And I'll give you my phone number too. It's that's fun. That's success.
I love that. I love that. I think a lot of times people have the wrong idea of success. It's really important to kind of differentiate between, I guess, romanticizing over money or, things like that.
You know that because you're close with your siblings and you have a very strong family bond, but that is success. Like I have 4 awesome kids. When I met my husband, he had 2 little boys. And I say, listen, I have 4 kids. 2 are biological, but I forgot which 2, because then we wound up having 2 little girls together. But having a great family and good kids who are fun and funny and good human beings, like that is success. And a great spouse, and siblings you love, and a job you love, all the riches in the world, I would never trade.
What is some advice you would give to someone like me, up and coming in the media industry, or someone just starting out?
Well, I'd say a couple things. I said it before earlier. I would say, listen, you have a dream, whatever that dream is. Don't give it up. Don't let anyone tell you like it's a pipe dream. It's too, I just read this thing about Quentin Tarantino, who, when he was 12, his mom wanted him to give up his writing and just, thought it was a pipe dream. And he remembers saying, "I'm never giving you a dime when I'm famous," and he's stuck to it. I don't know if I do that, but he literally hasn't given his mom a dime because, he's a multimillionaire, he's very successful. If you have something in your heart and your soul and you want to do it, you're young, go for it, try it. Don't listen to everybody or anybody who's going to tell you not to. You only live once. The other thing was be a good person wherever you go, whatever you do, because you have no idea when you're going to bump into hairy leg. And it comes sometimes at, times that are not very obvious, and, being a good person, the karma comes back. I've seen it over and over again. Gene Sparrow and we used to laugh. I'm like, wait, that karma trans choo choo. Like you cannot escape karma. So be a good person, genuinely enjoy what you do, genuinely give back to your community when you can, and you will see how the pieces come together, and enjoy your life. And don't ever let anything get too hard or stressful. I always tell my kids, on the map, the weather map, and they show you a big hurricane and it's massive and it goes across the country, and then you see the little eye of the storm, that little calm part. Try to keep your life, stay in a calm in the eye of the storm. When everything's swirling around you and the world gets crazy, or maybe you got stuff at home, stay calm in the eye of the storm, and it will pass, and you'll find a way, and you'll be so much more proud of yourself and the way you behaved than getting all crazy and engaging in it. So I think that's my advice. Is that good advice, do you think, Tiyen?
I love that. I want to thank you so much for just having the ability to come on and have a good conversation. Like I said, I knew you were like really cool and really funny and just a great person, and I really wanted to, I feel like I wanted people to hear your story. It has been an honor conversing with Melyssa Forman, who helped to shed light on the industry by sharing her story. According to Melyssa, take chances, network, meet people, be kind, and never let anyone tell you that you can't do something. Now, on behalf of the NATAS Junior Board of the Chicago Midwest chapter, we would like to thank Melyssa for being a part of our journey, as well as hers. This has been The Pursuit, a NATAS Junior Board podcast.